Thank you. Next item is posting the meeting given to the public pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1984. A motion by Esser and a second by Mitchell. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is approval of the minutes from March 9th, regular meeting, open and closed sessions.
Hey Barb, in D. Should I spell wrong? Yeah.
Open and closed sessions. Second that. Motion by Mitchell and a second by Esser to approve the March 9th meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is approval of current expenses and vouchers payable.
Went to page 4. There are 3 entries for library books: 3,300, 1,457, 2,366. So we get what's called a common school library fund that funds these purchases. So these are books that are purchased each year to replenish and add new things to the library. And then we get funding. We get that paid for. Most of the things, if you get reimbursed, you spend the money, you reimbursed for all those 3 amounts will be reimbursed within the budget. Farther down, it says motor coach for state girls basketball tournament, $3,500, and that is we got a donation. We got donations of over 5,000 for that trip, and that lodging there was for the bus driver, and it was some shuffling of. It wasn't for Kelly Laufenberg, it was, she gave up a room to make things work so that you could have the bus driver have the lodging also was reported, paid for with the donations to have the coach bus. Toward the bottom, with Riverdale, we share a speech teacher. That's a third quarter billing. They get, we get 40%. And they have 60%, so that's part of our 40% for speech. On the last page, it shows the March transportation cost to Warco of $10,000, and this shows how we collected money and sent money in for girls' state basketball tickets, $4,400, and our Alliant gas and electric, $8,282.
I'll make a motion to approve the expenditures. I'll second.
A motion by Schimick and a second by Benish to approve the current expenses and vouchers payable. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda then is public appearances before the board, not for action. I think we're gonna wrap this up, part of the meeting up and move on. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming and letting us know your concerns. I know there's a lot of things to deal with, and there's a lot of really good things in this community and in the school, and some things that need to be worked on. And so appreciate your input and how you handled yourselves tonight, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
On to announcements and reports. The first is the principal's report. Josh, you have some students that wanted to present to us tonight too?
We do. Okay, ready?
Okay, so we are Sources of Strength. We're a program that was just started up recently to bring awareness and kindness into our school with mental health, suicide awareness, stuff like that. Just spreading kindness throughout our school. So I'm Brody Smith here, doing a presentation.
I'm Matt Smith.
Grace Rushmeyer.
Colton Frost.
And we're going to be going through a presentation that is explaining everything that this is about and what we're going to bring to our school. Okay, so Sources of Strength uses this wheel to help students learn about the strengths that they have and the weaknesses that they can focus on to get through tough times. And if they do have weaknesses or can't get through the weaknesses that they have, to rely on the other things that they have within this wheel that they can study and have in knowledge. So if you can click on that link for me. Go back. You click on that link.
You know who you put in charge of this one.
Yeah, that's a good point. You got it, Marty.
I got it.
Oh, the link. Should have put my glasses on.
Welcome to Sources of Strength News, where you can learn about the different aspects of the wheel. Did you know that scientists created a biosphere to study how all the different parts of nature work?
No, I had no idea.
Well, let me explain it to you. They planted trees in the biosphere, but the trees kept falling over. After research, the scientists realized what was happening. There was no wind in the environment. While a strong wind can push a tree over, some level of wind is needed to help trees grow deep roots that will be strong when wind or rain floods come in their way. Trees need some resistance to develop the necessary strength to help them stand strong in future storms. Resistance can create resilience.
Stress can act in very similar ways with humans. We worry that toxic stress can be overwhelming in a person's life, but some stress can make us stronger. If we meet stress with strength, we can ultimately grow deep roots of resilience and live healthier and happier lives.
The 8 strengths in the Sources of Strength wheel can help us navigate life's ups and downs by connecting us to the strengths all around us, teaching us to focus on positive ways to deal with stress by helping us to build resiliency.
The first section of the wheel that we will talk about is family support, whether related to us by blood or by choice. These are the people who support, nurture, and care for us. Family support can look different for everyone. It could be immediate family, extended family, chosen family, or even your pets.
Our chosen family is often closely related to our positive friendships, which is the next section on the wheel. Positive friends lift us up, make us laugh, are honest with us, and are there for us when we need them. Positive friends help us make healthy decisions, encourage us, and inspire us.
So that only went through 2 parts of the wheel. There's 6 other parts, obviously, but you get the hang of it with the whole wheel. Go back to the other tab then. To the left.
Aren't getting ready.
You can go to the next slide.
Now we're.
Okay, so part of the Sources of Strength program is having peer leaders such as us 4. Here's a video of our peer leaders that we created to share our mission statement with all you guys as well. Here you go.
Again.
It flickers.
We are a group.
of diverse students from many different borders and cultures.
Turn the light, it has ups and downs.
That will go through good times.
And tough times. Our mission is to ensure
No one gets so overwhelmed
or hopeless that they want to give up. Our mission
Is to spread hope, health, and strength.
into every corner of our community.
Our mission is
We are a group.
of diverse students and adults from many different borders and cultures.
Of our school community.
Life has ups and downs.
That will go through good times.
And tough times. Our mission is to ensure
That during the rough times,
No one gets so overwhelmed
or hopeless that they want to give up. Our mission
Is to spread hope, health, and strength.
into every corner of our community.
Our mission is to help students and staff.
Turn to their strengths and supports that are all around.
We are connectors to help and strength.
Our mission,
Recognizes that our voice has great power.
and we use it to,
Break the silence.
when someone is struggling.
And to connect them
To the help and need they deserve.
We spread hope by focusing on stories of strength, rather than on stories of trauma.
We know our most powerful impact.
Comes from our personal actions, conversations,
and messages that use our music, our art and writing,
our activities,
Our social media.
our culture and our grit.
This gives life to our efforts.
We are sources of strength.
So again, like I said, that just kind of goes over our mission statement and everything that we're about, and trying to bring to the school and spread awareness of. So Sources also spreads messages of hope, help, and strength through different campaigns. The first campaign that we did was the Belonging Campaign. One thing that we did for this campaign was have each middle school and high school student complete a survey about what talents, unique characteristics, gifts, personality traits, hobbies, and interests that they have and that can contribute to our Cardinal community. We will be featuring these responses on our Highland Sources of Strength Instagram page that was created by our peer leaders. So if you guys have an Instagram page, I would highly recommend following us at HSD-SOS, Highland School District Sources of Strength, if you're able to, just spread awareness to the program that we're trying to bring to our school. Also, for our Belonging Campaign, we have created a paper cardinal. We are going to give each middle school and high school student a paper feather, and then on that feather, we are asking them to write a way to make others feel included or a positive message to lift others up. We plan to hang the cardinal in the hall with the message feathers, making the wings of the cardinal. Just as it takes many feathers to make up a cardinal, it takes many abilities, characteristics, and experiences of our students to make up our awesome cardinal community that we have today. So that's what we're all about. That's all we got. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate you guys listening.
Thanks. Thanks.
No, they shut us off.
Yeah, I know. All right, thanks for joining us. Josh, you want to finish your report?
Just want to recognize the forensics team. Did a great job this year, on the direction of Mr. Keeler and Ms. Mitchick. Teams went to state here this past Friday and did very well. The group interpretation was Grace Dreschmeyer, Meg Terrell, Ella Cody, Jenna James, and Harper Drury. They're in gold, which is a 25, for their performance of what's called College. Another one in group interpretation, Kate Terrell, Emily Kilman, Olivia Esser. They earned a silver for their performance of The Day the Crayons Quit. In a special occasion, Chloe Campbell, she earned a gold for her performance, the 50-year graduation speech. Solo acting, Bryce Aid earned a gold for his performance of Paranormal Activities. In radio speaking, Brody Smith earned a silver for his performance. He was also sick that night. And then in prose, Simon Montez earned a silver for his performance of How to Write a Suspense Novel. So all gold and silvers at state competition. Just great job. So I recognize them.
Good job.
So that.
Questions for Josh? Otherwise, we'll move on to Bryce.
Want to go over quickly, results of the election for the board. We have Katrina with 236 votes, Beth Bumkamp 225, and Will Glanville with 91 votes will be the Katrina's incumbent, so she'll stay on. Beth and Will be new board members. And I want to thank Ken and Mike for their years of service, several years of service, and being really, really good sources of information and guidance. And even in my 2 years, really gained my respect. And it's these are difficult positions to be in, and we're going to miss your guidance and great job you done. We're having a cake afterwards, so stick around. For everybody, if you want. Another thing is we're having, with some funding through the state, it's mental health funding, Kids Get Ahead initiative, it's through DPI, and the governor has supported this. So our share of this money is $14,000 for next year. It can be used for direct mental health care, hire and support a mental health navigator, trauma-based care, mental health first aid. So some of these terms it's a little bit new to me in this grant. So the good news is we have money to get some support to bring certain things in, maybe have some kids get some kind of care and treatment. We also have Oregon Mental Health that comes in and meets with students in our district for mental health and counseling needs. And that's important because before this got set up, and it's in some other area districts, but it's hard for parents to get kids to make counseling appointments. They're usually in different surrounding towns, and the clinic actually comes in and kids can meet with the counselor. It's pretty simple to set up. So I mean, it's just a good thing that we have going here that way. The other thing I had on here, and some of you guys talked about this earlier, there's the annual CISA 3 annual meeting on July 28th. So Katrina's been the rep for that. And so when we reorganize, I think that's when we chose the rep, and we probably will, hopefully we can reorganize. I've got a proposal. I wanted to talk more about budgeting and staffing this month, but there's still a lot up in the air with funding for next year. And I'm gonna actually, if you remember last year, I did the contracts, some of the raises and salaries for next year. I'm gonna push that off, and it may be as late as even the June meeting. I want to, before we commit to some of that stuff, I want to make sure we know how the year is ending, if we have excess funding carry into next year or not, after the projects we do. But what I'm wanting to do is have a special full board. This would be the new board on May 4th. So the existing board goes for a couple of weeks if there are other meetings and things, but on the 4th Monday, the new board members are in. If we had a week before the board meeting, if we would reorganize for officers, and then we could spend most of that with Linda and myself going through, there's some different things, how we're gonna use ESSER money, how we're gonna work salaries and things. If we're gonna add another teacher to the mix, because there's some need that the teachers are presenting to me, with some of the lower elementary students, for different reasons, but it's just getting kids to stay on track and focus. And we may want to make some smaller groups with that, so we have to plan on how we would be able to afford that and make that work. So instead of trying to do that all in one board meeting, I might just have a preliminary board meeting. We wouldn't really have a finance committee organized yet, so the full board could attend, and then a week later, we would maybe act on some of those things, and then some of those things maybe still would be not finalized until June, but we would, we can give with staff intent to return and teaching staff their, to renew their contracts, but we don't have to increase salaries until later in the year. Some years, in some situations, people start the year with the same salary, and then if they get a raise or a change, it goes on in summer, goes on in the fall, and there's back pay. We generally don't want to do it where there's back pay, because that's hard with accounting, but there's a lot in play, and just to make sure, how the year ends and what we can do with some of the money. So that's what I'm proposing. And later on is usually when at the end of the meeting, when we set these meetings, but I'm thinking May 4th meeting, it's a Wednesday. I think it's in between several things, so we'll talk about that, I guess, at the end.
Sounds good, Bryce. Anything else? All right, Building and Grounds Committee update. We had a meeting at 5:30 tonight.
Yep, so went over the upgrades to the girls' locker room, so we make a recommendation, the Building and Grounds is gonna make a recommendation to approve under construction for the concrete work for that portion of that work. Marshfield Book and Stationery for the benches that would need to go into girls' locker room. And then also Xander Solutions for the girls' epoxy floor in that room. Based on bids that we received. And then secondly, also going to seek approval to purchase 4 new kitchen tables and replace the ones that fold upright into a V. Just for due to age and your more of a safety issue. So there's that, and then I think that's all we're gonna really cover for what we needed to discuss in building grounds. So
Yeah, previously we had talked about possibly doing some work in the girls' showers.
Showers and
that's
stuff, but
maybe
it's
put on hold just based on what estimated costs are.
okay. Some questions?
What kind of tables will be purchased to
It's
replace?
the same type of tables that are out there.
They'll be, they won't
round
be
ones?
benches, they'll be round seats like we currently have, square tables.
Yeah, that I was why I was asking. Because if I had a choice, I'd prefer the round ones versus the elongated table.
Yeah, it's easier for people to get on and out of.
Yeah. Children and
Yep.
staff or people who visit.
So they're gonna be the long tables with the round, no.
That'd be a round
Okay.
table with
The round table, okay, all round.
No, negative,
Yeah,
No.
rectangle tables.
yes, long table,
round
but the
seats.
seats are round.
Alright.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah, it's just the seat isn't that long bar.
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I was confused about it. All right, got it.
What is the general number of the
Eight.
upgrades in the locker room?
So the epoxy floor will cost roughly about $4,500. The benches are gonna be $1,300, and then the concrete work would be roughly about $2,900.
That's 4 new pads to set the new lockers on. Have to bust out the old ones with the configuration. The girls' locker room will be different now.
In the bathroom, the toilet area will be easier to use and the door will lock.
That was.
That's all about, we did that over Christmas break.
Okay. So just the shower is what's not getting.
Showers,
Yep.
yeah, so the cost on the showers to put individual stalls or rework the drains and faucets for shower heads and all that stuff that's coming in more than we anticipated. So right now, that's gonna be put on hold.
How many shower heads were we estimating?
We figured at least 4 or 5 in there, so.
4 currently.
Okay.
Just so there's adequate room for each stall.
Right. Thank you. You won't be here to ask that question too.
Well, like I told Mike earlier, I'd be more than glad to come back and sit on any building and grounds committee if you needed to, so.
I appreciate that. Thanks, guys.
2 policy committee meetings.
Yeah.
Chair.
Yep, so we met last week and then again this week. We're working on the activities handbook, making some changes to the, what's in the minor violations, what's in the major violations, and also what, the progression of discipline is gonna be. Our goal is to have it ready before August for the next school year, but we're taking our time and really, talking through how we want that to be written so that there's no questions. So that was last week, and then this week we had our rep from Neola, always forget his name.
Steve Bell.
Very helpful guy. And he brought to us, we talked with him about what we need to do for our appeals, and he gave us a lot of good information, and then he brought to us a bunch of policy revisions that we have to do based on statute and such. Anything really to note. Board member code of conduct, he's gonna put in our policies, and we're all gonna get a copy of that. You two will get that as well, probably email to you so that we all have it. Talked about grievance procedures. We talked about open enrollment, our policy of that. We are going to leave that as Bryce will bring those to us, although that is something we don't have to do that way if we didn't want to.
Wednesday night,
What's that?
the Wednesday night practice and.
Yes. That must be it. We didn't, that didn't get moved over, I guess. So that's gonna be added to the policy, our policy that we've all have always had about Wednesday nights, stuff being done by 6 and not having any games at all costs, just trying not to, if they can, if there's no other options, and also Sunday nights. That stuff somehow wasn't in our policy this year, but it will be moving forward. Questions?
And the reason it didn't make it in there is because it's not common practice. Like,
Right.
that isn't everywhere. It's just a kind of a local thing that we have established.
So Neola doesn't.
So we had to re-add it. It was brought up that it was not in there,
It was a
we couldn't
mistake.
find that,
Yeah.
so.
All right, sounds good, thank you. On the new business then, the first item that we had posted here was discussion and action on administration establishing a committee to review existing policies and procedures, develop recommendations on educating students and staff regarding discrimination, harassment, equity issues in the district. Did you want to
I
talk about
can,
that a little bit, Bryce?
I can talk a little bit about that. That was, basically to talk a little bit about the next steps, where to go from here. And, you know, one of the ideas was, to form a committee to, you know, ask people to join and give us ideas on certain things, public comments, you know, at least some of those people don't, that presented don't want to be part of that or don't think that's the solution. And also, I don't, I mean, I just want to, I think we need to do things that make sense and going forward. So, some of my thoughts are, there has to be, you know, education for students and staff and community. There's a way to involve community, or at least have things, like sometimes we do things to make sure that the community knows, there's awareness that we are taking some steps. Another thing though is, I think with that education is what's happening right under our nose that maybe it isn't, you know, we're not realizing what we're doing, or if there's, if we're offending people or things that are going on that is, right under our nose. What I'm hearing from this group that talked to us tonight, you know, a lot of the things that are repeated are, they're just saying, you know, issue discipline, take care of things, you know, as it happens. They're talking about, you know, where things aren't getting taken care of. And that's where there's a disconnect, because from what I've seen and when I work with Mr. Terrell, it's not like we're getting things on racism or you know, bullying with some of these protected classes that it's reported directly and we're ignoring it. So my perception is we haven't had large numbers of things that are reported out to us. So I'm thinking there's a reason if people aren't willing to report, there's reasons for that. We maybe have to look at things with that. But I don't know if we want to, the best way to go forward. I mean, I'm hearing the public group saying, when stuff comes up, take care of it. When stuff comes, when you know about something, you know, handle it, issue consequences, take care of stuff, and do it no matter who the person is or what the group is, or, you know, just take care of things as they come up. And that was loud and clear, you know, from the group. But it's not like there's a ton of that reported out, and we've done some, you know, some checking on some things, and when they're reported to the counselor, those type of things, we follow up, and there's not the number that, you know, some people are talking about. So with that said, I you know, if we don't do a committee, I still think we have to come up, meaning the administration has to come up with an action plan and be ready to have anything we're going to add in, at least by fall, how we're going to operate and things we're going to do differently, and, you know, make sure that we are not bypassing anything obvious. And I'm not sure, just an awareness of what other things that are under the radar, I guess. Some are
So Bryce, some of these options we have here, I think, the new board can kind of figure out which way they want to go on it. I mean, forming another committee or an ad hoc committee to address it is an option, or it can just go back to the policy committee and they can deal with it there and have, obviously, we need to focus on this more, and there has to be better communication, better information out there on how to report stuff and how to deal with it, and we definitely need to focus on it and resolve it. Or not necessarily resolve it, but at least see what we can do to move it along. So it's hard during these regular board meetings with, what we have. There isn't a lot of time to sit down and discuss stuff in more detail. I think the policy committee, or if it was an ad hoc committee, gives us more time to do that. Community input is good. I know, so 3 or 4 years ago, we had a school climate committee, but we had a couple meetings, and I can't remember if COVID kind of put an end to that, or if that was towards the end of that, but
It was before me,
that was before you.
so at least 4 years ago.
So we've done some things like that before, and it's probably time to circle back to some of that again. But again, there's different ways of doing it that focus on it somehow.
Yeah, I think it would be a little excessive personally to form a whole other committee. I think we should just, whether we invite community members into our policy meeting and have a policy meeting specifically based around what was talked about tonight, and making sure that we have that included. Like, I know I was taking a gander through Fenimore's policy last week, and they have it laid out, and I apologize because I've not gone through ours like that to make sure, but they have laid out, like, everything pertaining to race and harassment, and by the book and letter, like, if you violate this, you violate this, you violate this, this is the definition. And I think maybe we just need to take a harder look at adopting some of those things. But to go along with all of that, I think it stems back to what we talked about last week at our policy meeting briefly, was just not to make more paperwork for everyone, but to really, like, if something is brought to administration's attention, making a documentation of it so that when we go back and say how many times or what happened, that there was a record of it, because we need to be able to tell families, or I guess justify what's happening and have record of that, I think. So again, just to reiterate, I think, whether we bring people in or, ask for a couple volunteers to sit in on some policy discussing that, but I think creating another thing in more meetings. We already have a policy meeting, I agree with you. We're 7 members and we're already spread thin, and we are all balancing enough as it is, so we add another committee. It's just one more thing to attend when policy already is gonna handle whatever is gonna happen at the committee meeting anyway. So that seems pointless. Hard.
We just make sure that we let people know that.
Yeah, having a policy
and any board members.
Well,
They can come if they'd like to.
I guess I'm looking for direction from anybody on, if we're talking about primarily racism and other, it's called protected classes, discrimination, because you're different than whatever, but,
So we have a policy in effect or whatever in our board docs. Yeah, and I've looked at it multiple times since receiving the letters and information, because obviously I wanted to be sure that, one, we had it in our policy in the first place. So I mean, I don't know if I can ask this or not even in open session, but like, there's things that were mentioned that, of course, we never even were told about. In like an email on some of this, the stuff that we received, it says it was asked to be brought to our attention. I don't remember it being brought to our attention. So that's my concern.
why are we not getting the information we needed?
I
to
think
hear
we
about?
did, it just wasn't like, so I remember
Okay.
Mr. Terrell bringing some information about like, we need to start, I don't remember exactly how you said it, but then we got that letter.
Right.
To the
in
whole school.
Yep. into the
So, I mean,
students.
that's.
So I remember
that's
that
what I'm seeing
conversation as
'cause
well.
They don't, but they aren't gonna bring it to us and tell us exactly what's happening, that we're not privy to the exact reasons and the exact situations.
Right.
That's what makes it hard, but I think,
Yeah.
I think it was brought to us, it was just when, like, we didn't know that's what it was at the time. And like, to me,
Okay, so but
when
how
it said
come,
they
okay,
brought to us,
right.
that, you know. I was like,
I'm still a new board member,
Okay.
really. In 3 years, I'm still learning so much every day. Every day I learn something new. So my question is then, how come then is it brought to us this way? And it's our knowledge, it's shared with us, right? We
If
know
they
about it.
share it with us, they can share what it, like.
And they
people
can come here and share it with
Yeah,
us,
But the
but they
administration
can't share
can,
with
yeah,
us.
that's confidential, they have to. They can't give us the names.
One of the issues with sensitive, whether it's employee performance issues, student issues, that's confidential, we can't talk about the circumstances. However, other people, whose stuff gets out from kids and from parents, and it gets, what's out on the street, there's truth to a lot of it. There's other things that are not exactly the way it happened, and there's reasons that we can't talk about it, so we never really get to tell our story, on a lot of this. But, we have policies, and we have handbooks, and we have rules, and I would just say the frustration on administration part is it's being displayed like there is all this, situations being turned in to deal with something, and we're ignoring it. And I'm telling you that there's very little like this turned in, but if it's going on and it's not getting turned, so I'm not talking about documentation, I'm talking about reporting it. So there is an anonymous way to report, because I'm just guessing, some people, they don't want the repercussions, they're worried about if I do something, then these people are gonna, there's gonna be repercussions and more of that stuff, so maybe that's some of the stuff, but we're not getting anonymous things either through the webpage. I'm not sure.
I think a lot of that might be just that people forget that tool is there. That's what it probably mostly boils down to, is people forget that tool is there to use.
And I think that's part of this education, is just letting people know what the processes are, what the tools are, how to go about it, so that
Maybe
it's being
reminding
done
them
the right way.
repeatedly.
Reminding everyone that the stuff's here. They just gotta know how to access it and use it.
So, yeah, we'll talk about a few ideas for you later too, Katrina, on this school board transition plan.
Any other things that would give us a little direction, other than when something comes up, we'll make sure we follow through and.
Make sure all staff knows that they're obligated to if they hear, see, witness anything.
Right, I would say that it's a daily, quarterly, you name it, it's a constant reminder of what has to be documented, reported, and then there is no gray area. If it's there, you follow the rule. And it's not for, it's for everyone. Staff, students, whoever. inside these four walls or represents the school is for everyone.
And again, just trying to find those resources too. I think, the attorney that you brought in earlier to talk about some of those issues was really beneficial for the kids and staff, and just keep trying to find those sources to bring in as well.
And I would almost go and say, if you can find the time or the resources to do that once every semester, put it in front of them every semester. It's not like it's going to a blind eye, because I know all three of my kids came home and talked about it that same day. And it was at 3 different times. It wasn't all together at the lunch, the supper table. They talked to me about it 3 different times.
So it's multiple avenues of
Right.
delivering the same message. It's
Right.
every athletic meeting that we have at the beginning of the year. Athletics is a big part of all of the issues that we're having right now, and how serious those meetings need to be taken, and all of the coaches need to be taken, how serious. The coaches, even after the meeting, the coach should be having separate meetings, like, these are serious allegations, and this could really affect you if you're gonna, and they have to, every teacher and every coach has to be willing to report this themselves. And what Sierra had mentioned, that she could hear the N-word down the hall. Not one other person hauling on her could hear it. I think there's still a fear from even staff members of being afraid to report because of who it is. So that needs to go away. So the training needs to go to the teachers, all the staff, all the kids, and things. As often as we can get this information in front of them, the more they hear it, hopefully it'll finally stick. It's like we can't do it once a year and wait until we have an issue and then address it again. It's gotta be constant.
All right, that sounds good, and then we won't have any action on that item. Next item then is building and grounds committee recommendations.
So I would like to recommend to the board to approve Xander Solutions, Marshfield Book and Stationery for the benches, Nundorf Construction for the concrete work, and then the purchase of the kitchen tables.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Schimick and a second by Mitchell. To approve the building and ground committee recommendations for the locker room fixes and the lunch tables. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is alternate open enrollment applications.
Who do we have?
2 students, 2 students out of the district.
Is that immediately or is that for next school year?
That's for this school
School
year.
year.
The ones for next school year aren't until the May meeting.
And those of you who are in attendance as per what was talked about earlier, the board doesn't get to know why students get to leave or come in. We're only here to approve or deny.
It's actually, we don't even have to do that.
Exactly.
They don't even have to tell
Right.
us.
So just for your information. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Esser and a second by Jaeger to approve the 2 open enrollment applications. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 22-23 sweep agreements. Do you just want to kind of review what those are for everybody, Josh or Bryce?
I can, sweep agreements, there's several districts chipped in money. I think it started in '99. It's a consortium, it's a co-op. So we share money for things like, got a list here, that's why I'm trying to look it up. utility
Basically-
trailer, aerator, 3-point hitch, aerator, extended roller, seeder. So we want to seed a piece of ground, we schedule it, we can use it, so it's a sharing of equipment with 15 or 20 different school districts. And it costs us $250 a year to be in this consortium. There's 2 different agreements. And that money, if they don't need it for repairs, it just grows and then they buy more equipment. So it's a really good idea of things that you'd use once every year or once every couple of years. A lot of people will do that aerator thing that pulls those plugs out. And that's a real common one.
They
But
have scholarships as well. They put out there as well, so.
so it's a great idea. I mean, it's
One of the things.
sharing, so. Doesn't cost us much and we can use all the equipment.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Esser and a second by Schimick to approve the 2 sweep agreements. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next item I asked to be put on here is just the school board transition plan, and there's nothing formal about this. It's just to have something on here. So a couple things I wanted to do with this. One is congratulations, Katrina, on your reelection. Glad you're sticking with it. Welcome, Beth and Will. I read without my glasses, and then to see you guys, I have to put my glasses on. So welcome, thank you for your service before you even get started. I appreciate your willingness to get on the board. And thanks, Kenny, for your 12 years of service. It's appreciated. So a couple things I just wanted to mention to you guys as you're coming on here. The reorganization meeting, Bryce had talked about doing that on May 4th. I've kind of run that probably the last 7 years now. There is a webinar that WASD recorded on the reorganization meeting. There are just tons of resources through the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. A lot of the stuff they've been doing lately is all webinars and it's been recorded. So I would encourage somebody that wants to take a look at that. That would be helpful. There's a new school board member gathering April 19th at 7 p.m. in Fenimore. That I went to when I was first on the board and was probably the best meeting I had gone to kind of give you an introduction of board service and what you can do and what you can't do and kind of some sideboards. One other option I wanted to mention to you guys was Eileen, our attorney, does do the same type of session, but could do it just for the board. So that would be another option is she could come in just for the 7 of you. It would be a public meeting, so if people from the public wanted to come and kind of hear what the roles and responsibilities are and how that works, that would be another option. Some of your questions that you had, if you had your own meeting, it might be a little bit more open to ask those questions than when you go to Fenimore with board members from around the CISA district there. So just know that there's a lot of resources out there for you guys to use going forward. I didn't have any formal training on facilitating meetings and parliamentary procedure either. It's just kind of picking things up as you go, but there are a lot of resources out there. I was on the Conservation Congress for quite a few years, and they have some pretty good resources on running meetings and facilitation and stuff too. So just encourage you to use the resources that are out there because you're not expected to know how to handle all this stuff. It's a lot. I think Katrina said she's been on the board for 3 years and is still learning. We're all still learning. I thought when I came on, this finance stuff can't be that difficult. There's got to be some ways to tighten things up, and you get on here and it's very complicated, and a lot of this stuff has been trimmed a long ways already. So it's there's nothing simple or easy about it. So that's all I had. If you guys had questions, those were just some things I wanted to pass along to you guys.
Thank you for your years of service.
Great.
9. Did you want to read the committees that we have so people can think about those? Because there'll be a few openings.
Okay, so right now, on finance, Todd is the chair and Mike and Kenny, were on that and I was the alternate, so we'll have to definitely that one. Policy, I'm the chair of policy and we've got Ashley and Katrina with Mike as the alternate. Buildings and grounds, we have Kenny was the chair and Mike and Brent, so we'll need people to do that. Teacher support staff negotiations, since I've been here, I've never had one of those, so do we still have that?
A lot of
Yeah.
things.
What?
I would say it's probably one you probably don't have that, right?
Right, I mean. They're not organized as a collective bargaining unit, so.
Right.
And we haven't.
I don't
Government.
think we've met, no.
Okay.
We've never met.
Since everyone's
Since
here,
I-
I might be the only one that's actually had to do that, so.
2011 is when the law changed.
Okay. And then the only other one is, transportation, and Kenny was the chair of that, and Brent and, Todd were on transportation, and I was the alternate. So,
And that there is basically just,
the beginning of the year.
you get a year if workload chooses to meet, or when you have to renew their, or you're looking, renew or looking for a new bus service, so.
So but the first three are the most active.
And we've got
And then we'll have
4 more years.
a school board delegate
Oh, sorry.
and
Yeah.
a CISA representative.
Somebody that we have delegated to go to the meeting in Milwaukee in January, and then the CISA meeting is in the summer. Right now Katrina has been doing the CISA meeting, and Ashley went to the meeting, but anybody can attend that. Doesn't have to just be one person.
One of the protocol that every new board member is
It's usually a
required
new board member that gets filled.
to go to
Not to drop
Milwaukee.
jobs.
All
They're
sorts of
both very
privilege.
informative and really good. They really are. It's just, you know, Milwaukee's far away and taking you
Time away.
during the week if you work, you know. So.
It's a
Kids,
challenge.
yeah, take care of. Any of those?
All right, well, those are just the couple things I wanted to cover tonight.
So you didn't write a, like, board president for Dunn's book or whoever.
Is there-
There probably is one.
Which one of you want to be in? I'm just kidding.
All right, personnel items, employee part-time custodian.
So that,
Can you take that one? Yeah, we have a, staff can, we'd like to recommend for our part-time custodian job.
so did we lose it, part-time custodian?
Did we lose one?
Yeah.
A while ago, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Esser and a second by Jaeger to approve the part-time custodian. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Dates for the next board meeting, then you're hoping May 4th.
Let's do a full board meeting May 4th and reorganization and then go through, you know, budget and staffing and some contracts and all that. So it'll be focused on that.
Is the large group festival still happening for band on that evening? It was originally on the school calendar.
Yes. It is.
So you're not available.
I mean, not if we're going.
What is it?
Large group murder band.
Oh,
For band.
so you
Large
won't,
group
when do you
festival.
know?
I don't know. It's just on the calendar, so that's what it says.
Well, that'd be.
May 3rd.
He's been waiting all night to say that.
I'm gonna be talking to you guys, even though you're not here. All right, so I guess it is. Do you have somebody? No. But
That's
still,
not
we
good for
need
you.
everybody.
Well, not technically, not, I mean, I would assume we're going, aren't we? Do we know if band is going to large group festival? Yeah, so,
So you could put me here.
I'll be here.
Oh, you would like to,
Whatever we need to.
May 3rd, the day before, is softball at Belmont. Who does that?
Monday night?
let's just do it Wednesday night.
Monday night is softball and baseball.
Can we do it the 10th? What's the 10th? Softball, okay, it's Tuesday.
What time is the large group? 7,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Marvin.
This word.
It's
Is April 27th an option, Bryce, or?
Information, it says on my notes.
Yeah.
28th is Expo. 20th is Expo, right?
Right.
The other option is just have a longer, we're gonna have a longer, regular board meeting in May. And one thing a lot of times stuff will go through the finance committee and then it goes to the board and it's kind of in this transition time, so, that is another option. It's just that you might get presented stuff for the first time and then be asked to act on it that night, finance, and sometimes that's, just nice to have a few days in between to bring back some questions maybe you ask me stuff and I need to research it and bring something back to you, but, that's,
So the finance portion that you'd be bringing was more just the year-end projections and next year's preliminary.
Yeah, but-
You mentioned the employee contracts and the
Right,
salary, you'd probably move to June.
I can, and we can issue those and not determine the salaries, but most of the decisions to be made are, if we add another teacher and what type of salaries, so that can get pushed to June. And so a bunch of it can just be educational, or just, here's our position, here's our proposed position in the fall, what we think. And then we can show some scenarios with salaries, and then we can make those final determinations in June. So that can work and save a night. That's the best option.
We can meet May 4th, it's fine. If you wanna, it seems like it was a little more sense.
You could always do another meeting towards the end of May as
If we
well. You
had
could do it on May 11th, and if you needed to, you could have another one before the June meeting.
Right.
Is it 12 to 7? Are they there all afternoon?
Yeah, they go there and they practice.
Yeah.
And then you go and you
Oh,
watch them perform what they
yeah.
practice all
Oh,
day
I
with
thought
a
it was
completely
like
different music
con-
teacher
I was thinking
and
contest.
with like.
Yeah.
you know,
Get your-
notes
yeah.
and That's it.
And it's usually like the seniors
Yeah.
trying to go.
Let's do a regular meeting, and then if we need something else, we can add something else.
Oh, they all go to this.
Or we could have two June meetings.
They
all go to large group.
Yeah,
Ours
okay.
band is-
But they do go all day practice. All right, so we're just gonna do the 11th. And
Yes.
make it long.
Yes. And there's been 2 meetings in June some years?
Yeah, pastor has, yes. That's largely because of trying to get stuff approved before the cutoff on July 1.
Right. Okay, we'll do that.
Expenditures.
Makes sense.
So no meeting on the 4th.
No,
May 11th, 6 PM.
Sweet.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion by Esther and a second by Schmick to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I'd say something sense, to reorganize.
It's my favorite parliamentary procedure nugget is that for the motion to adjourn, you don't have to ask for discussion.